Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। भगवद गीता चैप्टर 1 वर्स नंबर 10। अपर्याप्तं तत् अस्माकं बलं भीष्म अभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं तु इदम् एतेषां balam bhim abhirakshitam. The strength of our forces, although protected by Bhishma, is not sufficient. On the other hand, the army of the Pandavas, under the careful protection of Bhima, is fully competent. So after describing the main warriors in both his army as well as the army of the Pandavas, Duryodhan is now comparing the strength of the two armies. The army of the Pandavas was 7 Akshauhini. One Akshauhini has several thousand chariots, elephants, horses, and close to about 110,000 soldiers. So in the army of Pandavas, there were close to about 700 or 800,000 soldiers or more, whereas in the army of the Kauravas, there were many more. He had 11 Akshauhini Sena. However, Duryodhan is feeling that his army is not competent enough. His strength is insufficient. There are many reasons for this. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in his commentary that Duryodhan is pointing towards Bhishma Pitamaha, who was the main warrior on his side. Everyone knew his strength. He was endowed with extremely fine intelligence and expertise both in weaponry and knowledge of scriptures. Still, Duryodhan feels that him being the leader in his army is not sufficient. Why? Because Bhishma had a soft heart for the Pandavas. He loved the 5 Pandavas more than anyone else. So therefore, since his love was divided, he would not fight with full dedication and vigor. This was Duryodhan's concern. On the other side, it was Bhima who was the great warrior in the army of the Pandavas. Even though Duryodhan considered Bhima to be less intelligent, he was very jealous of Bhima. However, Bhima is one-pointed. He's fully dedicated to the side, to the Pandav army on whose behalf he is fighting. So while Bhima was not as great a hero as Bhishma, he would use his full strength to ensure victory for his side. So there is a lesson in here that if one is committed to a cause 100% and works willingly with full dedication, then the capability of that person to complete that task increases multifold. However, if we do something half-heartedly and unwillingly, then we would not be able to complete the task successfully. Just like when a boat is going downstream, the current is in its favor. But the same boat, when it goes upstream, it has a battle to fight because there is a current of water coming in the opposite direction. So when our mind, our intellect is aligned and dedicated to the task at hand, then we are able to accomplish it successfully. Otherwise, all our strength and expertise is insufficient. There is one another reason why Duryodhan feels that his side has insufficient strength. We also have the same feeling many times, despite all that we may have in terms of wealth, strength, education. We may still feel emptiness within us, incompleteness within us. Duryodhan is feeling the same. However, Pandavas, even with their less army, are feeling completely sufficient. Why? Because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Krishna is complete. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the source of everything in this entire creation. But when we don't have this realization and we are not aligned in our mind and intelligence to the Supreme Lord, then despite having everything in our life in terms of material things, we will feel incomplete. For example, if you put 2 zeros, it is still a 0. If you put 4, 5, 6 zeros, the value is still a 0. However, if we add 1 in front of that, then 2 zeros become 100, 3 zeros become 1000, 5 zeros become 100,000. So, all the possessions that we have, all the capabilities, expertise, wealth, strength, education that we have, according to our acharyas, is insufficient, is incomplete like the zeros, unless we have realization of the Supreme, unless we understand who God is, who am I, and what is my relationship with Him. This is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. The Pandavas knew that the real strength was that Krishna was on their side. A devotee understands that the most important thing for him is devotion, the process of bhakti or engaging in the service of the Lord. Because this bhakti, devotion, is the ultimate treasure, everything else is perishable. This is Vaikuntha consciousness. When we keep working for temporary gains related to this body, that causes all the anxiety, the misery, and the feelingness of loneliness, incompleteness, insufficiency in our life. But when we connect to the Supreme, when we engage our mind and intellect and our words and limbs in His service, then we realize the true happiness and bliss and completeness within us. One who does not have spiritual consciousness will be unsatisfied even if he gets all the riches of the world. So therefore, Duryodhan, despite having such great Maharathis, one Maharathi is strong enough to kill over 100,000 soldiers. Despite having several of such Maharathis, he still was feeling incomplete because he is not a devotee. He does not understand what is Krishna's position. He thought that having this great army would ensure his victory. That is why he chose to have Krishna's army instead of Krishna himself. There is another meaning of aparyaptam. Aparyaptam can also mean immeasurable. In some translations of this verse, like the one given by Srila Swami Prabhupada and the translation by Gita Press Gorakhpur, this verse is translated as, "Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. So this also is another mood of Duryodhan, and that's how we can understand that both the meanings of this verse are correct. In this translation of this verse, Duryodhan, out of arrogance, is thinking that his army is much greater and much stronger than that of the Pandavas and is well protected by Bhishma. He considered Bhima to be a fool as well as the Pandavas to be not as strong as him, and was confident that they will not be able to withstand his mighty army. This conviction of his, as given in this translation of this verse, is due to his arrogance and false ego. This is the working of his mind, which is not realizing and understanding the truth that Krishna, the source of all the strength, Krishna, the source of victory, Krishna, the source of all opulence, is not on his side. So, the first translation that we had, in which he is thinking that his strength is insufficient, that is the working of his intellect. In this next mood, where he is thinking that the strength of his army is sufficient, is the working of his mind. So he is vacillating between these two thoughts, between his mind and the intellect. We also experience the same. The mind tends to take us the wrong way. However, if we have sufficient good intelligence, which is directed by scriptural knowledge, then we understand what the reality is. False ego and arrogance speak through the mind. They manifest through the mind. Whereas true conscience or vivek, which is discretion, it manifests through the intellect. And in every situation in our life, we have to make the decision whether we listen to our mind or we listen to our intellect. Unfortunately, many times we end up listening to our mind, and therefore we end up in so many different difficult situations. Krishna, throughout Bhagavad Gita, will explain to Arjuna how to control the mind. He will explain the workings of the mind and how mind tends to take us down the wrong path. So with this prayer, that we also purify our intelligence by hearing the teachings of Lord Krishna, we will end today's discussion and continue next time with the next verse. Till that time, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Have a very blessed day.